Welcome back, everybody, to Friday Night League. I am more than happy to speak with your MasterCard Player of the Week, Santorin, after wonderful victories last time around. So first things first, this is the first MasterCard Player of the Week for you. So how's it feel, dude?
It feels amazing. Honestly, I was kind of not upset, but like sad that I didn't get like Player of the Week last split. I was like really looking forward to like trying to achieve this, and it's an honor for sure.
Well, in that, I guess, vein of trying to achieve it, I feel like it's always interesting finding out how players felt like they were in the running for it. After your performances, did you feel like you were in the running, or was it a surprise?
I felt like I was definitely in the running. It's just more. I'm not sure like what people are looking at when they're trying to like make Player of the Week. Some people have a very flashy. Some people are just very consistent. I think I'm very much in like the consistency where I feel like I'm playing well, like good pathing, these kind of things that sometimes gets like unnoticed. So I'm really happy. Like I had a really great week, and I finally got it.
Well, speaking of the pathing and things that you feel go unnoticed, as far as the meta right now, it's jungler territory, right? Having an opportunity to have an impact other than just trying to facilitate the laners. So how are you experiencing the meta in the current context?
I really like the meta right now. I think there's a lot of different playstyles. Like some can farm really heavily, some can do like a lot of early game plays. There's carry junglers and there's teamfight junglers, and honestly, I just feel like the meta is very balanced for jungle right now. Obviously, I don't know like from a laning perspective if they feel like jungle is so OP or whatever it might be. But I feel like it's in a good place for jungle right now.
Now, one of the things that we always check in on is the jungle mid laner synergy, but I feel like it's most appropriate here, being that PowerOfEvil was the other MasterCard Player of the Week to come out of FlyQuest so far this season. So in the context, with all the changes that have been happening, how do you feel that your synergy as a duo stacks up currently within the league compared to others, especially those like Blabber and Niski?
I think PowerOfEvil and I are really good together. I think we're like almost always on the same page. We feel really good about playing with each other. Something that we do better than most other teams is we're good at playing, not like to like just straight up like dominate the other 2v2, but we're good at not giving too much. So like we're a lot of the time on the scaling side where we'll be like completely outscaling them, but we'll be going even in the early game. And I think like that kind of sometimes gets unnoticed because I feel like we're always like the stronger 2v2 going into the mid game. So if we can go even in the early game, we're already winning out big time.
Well, once again, you're going to be put to the test. You're going against CLG in a moment who, well, maybe a surprise to some, are currently right up there with you in the standings. So what are your expectations going into this match?
Honestly, I expect to beat them. I feel like we're a better team, but I am still like surprised with how well they've been doing this split. So they're definitely not going to be an easier opponent.
All right. Well, always happy to hear words from you. I'll let you go ahead and get ready for that match. I'm going to hop back over onto the desk to talk about what's ahead. Now, after hearing from the man himself, I have no doubt that Santorin is looking to repeat his Week 2 performance. But for our upcoming match, on the side of CLG and FlyQuest, there were unsung heroes. We'll get to CLG in a minute, but with FlyQuest, Mash came through and showed up in a big way for them.
Yeah, he had a really good showing, and we were all curious about what we were going to see, if anything different from Mash when he stepped in for Turtle. It actually wasn't super different. There was maybe a little bit less resources given to him or weaker laning phase at 15 minutes, but overall they seem to fulfill very similar roles, which made it seem more like internal, behind the scenes, either Mash is doing something in communication that they like more, or that they thought he could do better than Turtle, and it did not seem like there was a drop at all in their play, which was really impressive. They still were able to execute super clean and really look great last week.
And while these two bot laners have some similarities in their play style, FlyQuest overall is leaning towards the aggressive side, right, Prawley?
Yeah, I mean, in spring, I think FlyQuest was often overlooked, even though their standings were pretty high, because of this kind of slow, passive playstyle where you wouldn't see these kind of fights in the mid lane. You would normally see the games go to 0-0, 1-1 at 15 minutes, and they usually won by having better team fights and just out macro teams that way. But in summer, they've actually transformed into a much more aggressive team. You see them taking fights in the river, they're taking fights at every single Drake. Like, they're actually upping their aggression just across the board, and this is something I think all North American teams are kind of striving to be, so to see FlyQuest kind of achieve it and transform a bit in the Summer Split is really exciting.
Yeah, doubling your kills and assists at 15 is not an easy thing to do. They're also a super fast team in wins, so they close out super cleanly as well. And I can't speak highly enough for this new FlyQuest. And some people who on the team we've always talked about being like the more slow, efficient players like Santorin and PowerOfEvil, and see them be able to unlock themselves and reach new, dimensions of their play.
Statistically, there's definitely a difference in their play. Alorum, how do you feel that this could translate when they're trying to continue their contention in the top spot with their overall sights on ultimately winning an LCS title?
Well, first of all, I think that the change from this passive FlyQuest that we've seen before to this more aggressive one has to be one of the changes in the roster, whether it's MASH or solo. We've seen a pretty dramatic change of how they play, and it's got to be the communication on whether solo is on some sort of engaged tank, like we saw those clips he was playing Ornn, or MASH playing a more aggressive AD carry, although I do agree with you on your previous statement that MASH and Wild Turtle, I believe, are somewhat interchangeable, but the communication is probably significantly different.
Now, if we're comparing the FlyQuest side over to the CLG side and maybe some of the front runners for those rosters individually, we saw Ruin really showcase a lot of the reasons that he has showed his prowess as a top laner, the versatility he's brought to the table.
Yeah, Rune had a super good week last week, and he's been playing a lot better. He's actually second in CSD at 10 in the league, so that's super impressive. Good turnaround for him. He's always had a really diverse champion pool, and he has always been an aggressive player. He's always had high ISO deaths because he's looking to make big plays, and he's actually converting a lot more this split, so he deserves a lot of credit for being able to execute on that, and a lot of that does also come down to Volibear. He was one of the first people to pick it up, and clearly had a better mastery over this champion than a lot of the people who were playing into it.
I think Volibear is quite literally the perfect champion for Ruin. I've always viewed Ruin as a very aggressive top laner starting from minute 1, and Volibear's rework has undoubtedly very, very good melee matchups. I think Volibear does very well into Sett in specific, which right now is a very popular flex pick. And so, while I don't think Volibear is OP, I do think he's strong. And some people have come to question Rune's play in the past couple splits, and now that he's picking it up, some people may think that might be because of the newest champion. But I think that CLG does a great job of playing around the Volibear. With Ruin on that champion and being able to play almost as aggressive as he likes, he can also just keep his jungler, keep Wiggily on the top side. The champion is very easy to make dives with due to the turret being disabled when he ults. So Ruin can make all these plays and not be as big of a risk as before if he just has his team play around the top side, which they have been. They've been doing a great job of it.
And you mentioned that you don't feel the pick is OP, and obviously when a new pick comes to the table, everyone questions everyone else's ability to play against it. So are there any things as far as Volibear that you think teams should be exploiting more or lean into as they try and contest this pick?
I do think that there are matchups Volibear loses, and a lot of people have been blind picking him. And for some reason, it hasn't happened yet, but people need to be more creative with their counter picks against Volibear, specifically some sort of ranged champions. And I see Mark smiling over there because he knows what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, and I know you don't want to reveal any of your picks that you would try into the Volibear, but I think it speaks volumes about North American top laners. This fact that you can blind pick volley in this region because people aren't comfortable playing some of those counters and wanting to break them out on stage. Same reason that we're not seeing Wukong. There's a stagnation in the top lane, and that's why I think Rune has been able to abuse it so well and are so have all the early adopters because people like Team Liquid are playing Mordekaiser into it.
You gotta be creative. You gotta be creative against something like this.
With all of that creativity considered, Prolly, I know you're a bit on the fence of whether CLG is a pretender or a contender for the top spot. What do you think it will take from them, or on the opposite side of FlyQuest, to prove that they're in the running for the top of the league?
I mean, I gotta say for CLG, pretty simple. If they win today, I think I'll kneel a bit and be like, all right, you guys can be contenders. But if they have a good showing today, I'm gonna just say, yeah, you're a pretender, and maybe you can be good one day, but you're not there yet.
There's only one way, though, to determine who the contenders and who the pretenders actually are, and that's to go into game. So, Pastry and Ezreal, we're sending it their way for game number 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies Summer Split. I am Freak. Kobe, are you ready?
Let's go.
Hello and welcome everybody to Friday Night League. It is time once again for week 3 of the LCS. My name is Patriot Time, and joining me once more is Isaac Ezreal Cummings-Bentley.
Good to be here, man. Excited for some more League of Legends.
Yeah, it actually should be a pretty nice night of League. We do, of course, have TL vs C9 coming up as our big match, but this one actually very important. 4 teams tied for second. We'll start to break up those ties now as FlyQuest will be taking on CLG.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be, shaping up to be a much more competitive match than people would have predicted coming into the split. CLG obviously was abysmal in spring. They were 3-15. Now at the start of summer, they're sitting at 3-1. So they've already equaled their win total from spring in 2 weeks. That's not bad. Will they maintain that pace? I think a lot of people are predicting they won't. We saw the analyst desk segment. A lot of people are putting them kind of in that pretender category. But still, it's going to be, I think, a lot tougher challenge for FlyQuest than they were anticipating. And if FlyQuest slips up at all, they may be the ones losing here to CLG today.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about that conversation, FlyQuest certainly seems like the team most people are willing to back as a contender. But if you want to think on the other side, for CLG, given that they are in the other category, a win here against FlyQuest says a lot. Not only for your win total, as far as it is relative to spring, but for your confidence and how good you actually are among the top teams of the league.
Yeah, it's definitely the case. I mean, both these teams are trying to build on these great starts, trying to increase that level of confidence. A lot of people had been talking about Ruins, Volibear. Analyst S was talking about it. Alorum kind of alluding to some different picks he thinks are very strong into the Volibear. Answers that haven't necessarily been explored on the LCS stage just yet, but it is going to be banned away here. Ruin will not be getting a hold of the bear, and Pobelter has been looking really good on TF. That's going to be taken away. So, trying to target some of the key picks here for CLG. This feels more like banning the team than necessarily just the champion. Obviously, TF pretty popular around the world. Yuumi Ezreal has become such a popular combo there too. So with Yuumi, you're kind of hoping that you deny some of that power of the Ezreal. The Varus is always going to get banned out on that red side, and FlyQuest is going to be looking to have an advantageous bot lane here with Mash and IgNar grabbing that first pick of Aphelios.
Yep, interesting from CLG as well to have Trundle and Ornn banned away. It's picks that both of these teams have used to kind of push their games to solid mid games and then take over from there. Aphelios is the predictable first pick for FlyQuest. It was fun to see Ziggs being hovered there. I did see Ziggs today actually in Academy, was played into Aphelios. We're starting to see a couple of mages into Aphelios, but Stixxay will stay with the tried and true. It is Ezreal first for CLG.
Yeah, it seems to be the answer that most teams are comfortable with, and the issue with that is Aphelios has been kind of getting the better of this trade, generally speaking. People feel like Aphelios, scales a lot better, is such a powerful team fighter. We have seen Syndra used as an answer. That is kind of one of the counters that a lot of people point to in solo queue, and in the isolated lane matchup, Syndra is incredibly strong, but not all of the marksman players, I think, are comfortable playing that Syndra side of the matchup, and it also really does skew how the rest of the team has to play, because you can end up with these compositions that don't have enough frontline killing, as we saw TSM do when they actually tried to swap Syndra down to that bottom lane.
Yeah, also Jarvan, kind of a curious selection here for CLG, so kind of saying like, we want more team fight, and FlyQuest say, okay, I guess we'll take Graves. That is the second pick here for FlyQuest. Santorin going to take arguably the strongest jungler into his hands here.
He is going to be on that Graves. Definitely a very strong power farmer, and can actually do very, very well into the Jarvan, especially if you're going to be going with Phase Rush. You have the quick draw to try to dodge out of any sort of flag and drag engage, and if Jarvan can't actually land that knockup, you don't really have much of an opportunity whatsoever to duel the Graves, and can kite you very, very easily using the Smoke Cloud as well as Phase Rush.
Yep, Syndra also the last pick there for Fly, and answered by Bard actually on the CLG side, another champion we've been seeing a lot more of. Rakan also going to get banned, so a lot of these Guardian supports do seem to be making their way back in since the change. There's Thresh banned away from IgNar, so just taking all the playmakers away from him.
Yeah, trying to set themselves up for what could be a very successful bottom lane. Obviously, the Yuumi is gone, but we have seen Bard come out some this split. Aphelios actually had a really nice game on the Bard himself. It wasn't a loss, but Bard can be a really strong laner. They are obviously worried about some of the hard engage options. That is why they are taking away the Thresh, taking away this Rakan. Bard can sometimes get preyed on by those hard engage style champions, but FlyQuest will still have other options. If they want to go towards tank support, they could look to something like a Nautilus or even a Leona. But we will see exactly where they do want to take us.
Well, kind of curious what CLG want for mid lane, because they were the two bans on the other side. Galio seems very obvious alongside the Jarvan, so that will be the pick here for CLG.
Yeah, so drafting very heavily for that hard engage. You can utilize the Bard, try to set it up, land a Bard ultimate, J4 comes flying in, Galio also for top, Ezreal obviously can follow very easily on any sort of engage there with his ultimate too, so CLG very much drafting for that team fight, 5v5, wombo combo style. And FlyQuest thus far has drafted some really strong lanes. They do have team fighting, but they are kind of missing the front line and now trying to look towards that. Looks like it will be Solo up in the top lane. He's going to be blind picking his top laner very likely, so it will be Sett and Braum here. Maybe the answer for IgNar, another strong tank support. This is something that does pair very well with Aphelios, and anytime you're playing double marksman, when you have the Graves coming out of the jungle too, just makes it that much easier to actually proc those passives.
Goodness.
But, oh, wow. This is interesting. So Pantheon support has been actually popping up more in solo queue. And when I talked about Bard, some of the weaknesses of Bard being those all-in supports, it could actually be Pantheon bottom there. There is obviously the chance to flex things around and do, Pantheon top if the matchup does work, and then have Sett down in that support role. But I am expecting this to be Pantheon support and them actually looking perhaps for some sort of an all-in play. Could be an even crazier move, though, if they actually want to move Syndra down and play like Syndra as a mage support. This is pretty wacky, but there is still time to actually have things swapped around, so we'll see where FlyQuest does land and then kind of talk about it from there. But Ruin will be playing the Jayce, so he's going to have that ranged into melee matchup, trying to get a bit of an advantage up in that top lane, and then the rest is going to be very heavily drafting for the team fight. So as expected, we'll get swapped back. It is going to be that Pantheon support I was talking about. You do have some really, really strong all-in. Pantheon going to be bringing the Ignite. You can look to set things up, obviously, with the Pantheon targeted stun. There's really good gank assist for that Graves. You can block out a lot of the damage, obviously, with that, empowered E from the Pantheon, and you have execute damage on the Q there. So can be a really strong setup, and especially in combination with the Gravitum from Aphelios, you can have a stun into a root. The Graves comes in, and that buys time for him to get that damage out. So this is a very interesting setup that FlyQuest, is going to be going for.
Yeah, everything was standard until Pantheon support happened, and then IgNar clearly wanting to really bring the 2v2 and try and punish Bard, because Bard inlane can be good. It's very skill shot reliant, and I think, how you can play with a difficult champion in the lane, but of course Bard wants to get out of the lane. He wants to be influencing in other lanes, roaming around in team fights with his ultimate, portaling around the place. So anything you can do to punish Bard early is nice. So I do like that IgNar is willing to take something aggressive. Yes, it could have been something like Leona with Ignite, which may have fulfilled a similar role, but perhaps that matchup's worse. Whatever it is, I will trust IgNar to play an aggressive support into something like Bard, because this has been his thing for a very long time.
Yeah, it is something where, with that empowered E, Pantheon can actually, block tower shots too. So if the Bard is looking to roam, there was more of an opportunity perhaps to actually look for the tower dives onto Ezreal, who is generally safe in those 1v2 style situations. This is a really, really strong all-in type support. I will say, though, I do think that Pantheon is going to struggle come teamfight time, when you're going up against things like the Galio, like the J4. If you are not ahead, if you are not snowballing, it's very hard for a support Pantheon to just ult in on the other team without just getting CC'd up and instantly dying. You really are very reliant on the empowered E to block out as much damage as possible. So you've got to use that very, very well as IgNar here, because this is going to be a relatively under-leveled Pantheon. You are going to be very, very squishy if you're not utilizing that kind of immunity with your empowered E to the best of your ability.
Yeah, well, teams are out onto the Rift, and Galio and Bard are just exchanging looks there in the mid lane. Astronaut Bard just dropping some care packages behind the tower.
Oh, that's actually really interesting. So it looks like Bard then is actually starting W. And I believe that was a Astronaut Bard emote that was actually being flashed there by Pobelter. So if Smoothie is actually starting W, which is what it looked like it was behind him. I'm not 100% sure. It could have been Meeps, but if those were health packs, that is really going to help out Pobelter a lot. Those fully charged Ws are like almost a health potion. You know, it's actually quite a lot of healing that can actually come down there. You know, at rank 1, I don't believe it's going to be quite up to the level of health potion.
They're all there.
And yeah, there's 3 of them. So this is going to allow Pobelter to actually just trade his health to push, you know, utilize the passive, tank those autos, push in, and then back off and have all of this additional healing to actually stay around in lane. So this is really, really interesting. It's kind of saying that bot side, they're not going to play heavily for level 1 anyway, if you're going to be defensively. And as you can see, it was 78 heals, so 2 of those is essentially 1 health potion. So it's about 1.5 extra potions that Pobelter did have, you know, and he could just kind of trade his health for the early push, killed that first wave, collected all of those health packs, and now has gotten level 2, still has his potions available. Obviously, it is a trade-off on that bottom side. It's going to mean that Stixxay and Smoothie are going to have to be playing max range. You are not looking to trade. You are not looking to fight when you don't even have your Q. But as soon as they hit level 2, which Smoothie has now, you know, actually got 1 minion early because he had been picking up some of those meeps, then they're, you know, back in a really good spot. And I think that's a cool adaptation to help out Pobelter in what can be a difficult early matchup. So I like to see that kind of innovation from CLG, and that's something that they used to be really well known for, is their level 1 preset plans. They were always so intelligent with that. So kind of cool seeing them go back a bit to their roots.
Yeah, I like it a lot. PoE there with a nice stun, but doesn't latch on with the second Dark Sphere. I mean, PoE is going Electrocute here, so very much trying to harass this Galio and lane. It is Cleanse instead. He does have to respect the taunt from Galio and, of course, the Bard Q as well. But PoB just knowing that he has to get through some of these early levels. Santorin, though, going to roam into the mid lane. Pobelter hugging the side of his jungler, which is smart, but a good stun's going to land. Jungler not coming out yet, though. He's bottom lane, that's why.
Yeah, so Wiggily showing up here on that top side does have the sweeper, so clearing out that vision. You know, if you are solo, you're assuming that Wiggily is then backing off, but you don't know for sure, so you always have to kind of play with the respect that there is a potential dive coming in, especially because they do have the push. Santorin now is going to be moving over towards that top side to try to cover for solo on any sort of potential dive, but solo is healthy enough, and we know that Wiggily is actually backed off to the Krug, so there's no real danger of that type of able to get a nice reset off here. He's a little bit of farm up. Thankfully, did have the additional Bard health packs there to help him out. And he is actually playing Teleport, and I don't think he even needs to expend it. He can just walk straight back to lane, hold on to the TP, and he is going to be playing Spellbook more for the utility later on. You know, being able to pick up some of these additional summoner spells can be really impactful in the team fights that are likely going to decide the game for CLG.
Yeah, nice deep ward there for IgNar, but yeah, Pobelter's back, doesn't need the TP, came back on a cannon wave, denied off a full wave as well, so looking good from just the little things early on in level 1, but bottom lane is kind of really where the spice lives with IgNar's Pantheon support, and I was curious about his keystone. I expected it to be something aggressive. It is Conqueror, so definitely looking for more of the extended all-ins rather than poking in and out with something like Electrocute.
Yeah, and one thing you've got to remember with Conqueror on Pantheon is how incredibly quickly you can stack it up, because your empowered W, which is generally how you actually, you know, open up a lot of these fights, you know, with the W, it counts as multiple attacks. So you actually get, you know, 3 quick attacks, I do believe, with that W, and then with, you know, essentially W, Q, auto, etc. You can basically fully stack that up very, very, very fast with kind of the autos being weaved in with those spells, and it makes it a really effective keystone for Pantheon because of how quickly you can stack it up.
Well, both junglers are here in the bottom lane. We just saw Wiggily. He's hiding in that brush just to the top of Stixxay and Smoothie. But Santorin also is here expecting maybe some action. But we'll see if anyone blinks first. IgNar again throwing Qs. Guardian's going to proc. And looks like nobody's going to budge here.
Yeah, and I feel like CLG, they would have liked the fight, but I feel like that was way too much of a tell. They were cheating so heavily towards that river brush, and that is such a giveaway that you're thinking, hey, my jungler may be here, my jungler is behind me. You know, as the side of FlyQuest, I think there's really very little chance that you try to look for that fight with the positioning that the Bard and Ezreal had towards that river brush. Either way, though, they did have Santorin warded out. They saw that he backed off, and that bot lane priority that they do have here early on is going to allow them to grab an early dragon. So very well done.
Yeah, just enough presence there for Wiggily to make sure his team gets that first trick. Solo trading here in the top lane with Ruin. This is Ruin's counter pick. As a reminder, it's fleet footwork here for Solo, trying to weather some of the poke here from Ruin's phase rush Jayce, but it looks like it's just farming right now in the top side with no junglers really coming up here, although as I say that, Santorin is in the area. At level 6, we'll see if Solo does want to fancy a dive. Here's Wiggily though, nice timing for the CLG jungler. Pull back in. Ruin is going to just try and push him back. That's an awful lot of damage. Here comes Santorin. Wiggily, though, going to try and make it happen, but he doesn't quite catch it. Here's Pobelter, though, zooming in and zooming out, I think, at this point. Wiggily is going to keep chasing, but starting to eat some shots and not quite in range for CLG.
No, not very well coordinated there by CLG, honestly. It felt like Ruin was a little bit too far forward. You know, Pobelter was roaming up, but they wanted to bait that a little bit harder, I think. Allow FlyQuest time to move in to try to more heavily commit to the dive, and then Wiggily needs to get further in on that flag and drag, try to create more space for Pobelter to have that successful ultimate. Instead, it just ends up being ultimate down, more farm going the way of PowerOfEvil, who didn't actually come. He picks up a turret plate also, which is going to be feeling really nice for him, and you know, FlyQuest doesn't lose much on that top side, going to be feeling really good about the series of events.
Yeah, plenty of gold for PoE to go and spend as Stixxay TP's back down here to the bot lane. He does have a Sheen and a Tier, so charging up nicely for his early itemization, but it is a fairly slow landing phase so far, which I think we should expect from both these teams, with the exception of kind of their Cloud9 game. FlyQuest's early game has been very stable, and it's really in the mid game, and especially later on as they feel confident in their team fighting, where they've picked the pace up a little bit. CLG have had some long games, to put it lightly. So given the team comp they've drafted especially, there is no need for the teams to be rushing right now.
Yeah, and that's something that we actually saw in the Santorin interview a little bit early on. He talked about the fact that he often feels like they have a scaling advantage in their mid jungle, and you know, in that comparison that Gabby was asking about, you know, comparing himself to and PowerOfEvil, how they kind of match up with Blabber and Niski, for example. He talked about the fact that sometimes it's overlooked that they draft for scaling and are going even, right? And I do think this is a case where you can talk about a little bit of that, as I do think that Graves scales a lot better than the Jarvan towards the later stages of the game, towards the mid game, and they're going to be feeling pretty happy about the fact that Santorin, you know, is just farming it out and feeling pretty comfortable with that. You know, Jarvan does have a lot better ganking in the early levels, though likewise CLG not going to be feeling too uncomfortable as their team comp is much more about the 5v5, much more about the hard engage, and that's kind of why you have this Jarvan Galio combo.
Yep, if you give up Graves to Jarvan, you certainly have a plan. As our Rift Herald does go over to FlyQuest, and Santorin going to go ahead and pick up the eye. See when he wants to drop it. It does seem like the wave is prepared in top lane. Although, going to take the Scuttle Crab first because he's a jungler, he must farm. Especially on someone like Graves. Wiggily, though, clearing some brush out. Again, no need to really rush things.
Yeah, nothing too crazy going on, but you do want to see teams be proactive, you know, when their abilities are up. Obviously, CLG, first time their ultimate was available for Galio, they did try to go to the top side, didn't work out. And that ultimate is almost back up. That's kind of why you see Pobelter cheating back up towards the top side. And it's also why you see FlyQuest with this investment of vision along that path, because they know Galio has to move up towards the top side before he's going to be in range of the ultimate. That is why those wards were kind of littered along that path to try to catch him cheating up towards Ruin, so they could be very much aware of when Solo has to back off or be scared of a Pobelter roam. But with CLG clearing those wards out, that does always get a little bit more frightening, and I think we're going to see Solo playing fairly defensively here for the next minute or two.
Mash is going to let it rip. Gravitum ulti down onto the bard. Good buffer there from Stixxay to get himself out from IgNar's stun. Santorin is here ready to drop the Herald at a moment's notice, but looks like they'll just take control of this Drake pit for now. 40 seconds till the ocean will be spawning.
Yeah, I think that was a smart early flash from Smoothie. This is kind of the combo I talked about earlier on in Champ Select. You have that Gravitum, you have the root to set up the Pantheon or to follow up on a Pantheon engage. In this case, they did use Aphelios' ultimate to land that Gravitum ult on Smoothie to land the root. Smoothie flashed very early though before he even got rooted, so that there wasn't much of an opportunity for FlyQuest to follow up on it, because if he does get stunned up and Graves comes in, all the damage that comes through may be too much. And you know, in this case, yes, you lose your summoner, but you stay full health and you can actually stay around in lane and defend against any potential dragon take, any potential dive. So they're going to be feeling, you know, pretty good about their summoner usage.
Yeah, Wiggily is spotting Santorin, also Pobelter ready with ult number 2. There is a little bit of vision here for Fly on the left-hand side of mid, but the rest of CLG are ready to fight for this. Looks like a battle for vision is beginning in the river.
Yeah, it does feel like this is one that FlyQuest wants to fight over. CLG went for a very early dragon and was able to get it. But I don't think FlyQuest want to give up another dragon here for free. Allow them to get to that very quick 2. But Smoothie and Wiggily look like they're preparing to actually jump in here on Mash and IgNar if they step a little bit too far forward.
Stixxay low on mana also without TP could make this a bit problematic. But it looks like FlyQuest have backed off for now. Ruin also getting aggressive in the top side. Solo going to miss that face breaker. And Smoothie and Wiggily going to fight for this crab, but here's Santorin ready to challenge. Does smite it away.
Yeah, nicely done there by Santorin. Grabbing the crab is going to really help them out with any potential team fight that does break out. And getting the crab is actually giving them confidence to pull this dragon. They know that Stixxay did base. They know he didn't have TP. So they're going to just try to finish this off before CLG can actually get in place. And so Smoothie is going to ult the dragon, trying to delay to see if they can get here in time. But I still think it's going to be too little too late.
Oh, it's close, but smite is good from Santorin. Stun now landing in onto Wiggily. He's going to have to take the portal out. The Syndra ulti not enough, but first blood to IgNar as he flashes in for that Q as top lane. It's all let loose here. Good ult from Solo. Ruin going to try and knock him back and maybe look for the re-engage, but just a trade of blows and no one falling yet. But still, the Drake and the first blood do go to FlyQuest.
Yeah, well done by FlyQuest. And I think that CLG had to make the call to just give that dragon up. When Stixxay is not there, yes, I get the idea of trying to delay with the Bard ulti, trying to set up and hope that the Ezreal can arrive and then Galio J4 can go in. But FlyQuest was too well aware of the base timings here. They knew that Ezreal was very, very far, and they just rushed this down. And yes, you hit that Bard ult, but look where Ezreal is. He's not even at his tier 2 on the map still. So really your only chance was just getting that True Shot Barrage steal. And if that is the case, Wiggily and Smoothie need to not even be close. They need to be way further away because it ends up being essentially a free first blood given over. You do trade flashes, you get the Ignite out, but CLG shouldn't be too happy about how they played out that dragon fight.
Yeah, IgNar, I think more than happy to trade his flash for the first blood there.
Mm-hmm.
Stixxay going to get some plates down here in the bottom side. Has gone back for the Manamune and the Sheen. But Mash ready with the BF Sword. Not going to be too disrupted here in the bottom lane. Luden's also done now for PoE. So starting to see those first items come to fruition. And FlyQuest happy with their 1,200-1,300 gold lead. They got most of the plates, they got their first blood bonus money, and Solo and Ruin are still battling up here in the top lane. Here comes Pantheon though, there's Galio to answer with the roam, and now IgNar gonna get taunted up. He's got no flash from last time. Saves himself a lot of damage, but not enough to not be killed by Ruin.
Yep, no flash available there for IgNar, and he ulted in, but CLG was very ready for that one. And I think FlyQuest did a poor job of actually tracking where Pobelter was, and that's not even a play you really need to go for. Solo has been doing great in the 1v1. He has been playing largely weak side, as this is going to be a pretty close fight. Solo's got to get out there now, though, with Pobelter here.
Yeah, oh, flash taunts in, knows he's got the range ready to go, and that's a kill for Ruin, actually, who finds the snipe with the Q, I imagine. Santorin, though, trying to chase down Wiggily. Tempered Fate's going to try, and it's close from Smoothie, but it's not enough to save POB.
Yeah, very well played there by Santorin, sidestepping that Bard ultimate. They're going to lose their tower off of this also, so traded back well by Santorin and PowerOfEvil. The initial play, I do think, was a little bit silly by FlyQuest, to be honest. When you don't know where Pobelter is, you don't know if Galio is in range, sending up IgNar for that Pantheon ultimate with no flash, no way to actually get out, seemed a little bit brazen, and they were punished for it, but it does end up working out pretty well on the eventual play as Pobelter getting out of that mid lane up towards the top side. Man, PowerOfEvil just had so much free time to grab that first turret gold for himself, get this Syndra ahead, and Santorin was even able to trade back a kill.
Yep, gonna make it Rift Herald number 2 as well for themselves after taking that bonus turret gold as well. So getting all the bonus gold for FlyQuest. They're up 2k now, and they've evened up the Drakes. It is Cloud Rift for this particular game. But Santorin will be looking to knock down another tower, you have to think, because he does take the second eye. Stixxay also working on his own tower trade in the extended play down here on bottom lane, but IgNar with a Hex Flash getting frisky.
Yeah, Hex Flash plus that Nimbus Cloak perhaps there. It looked like he was getting pretty fast, but I'm not even actually sure. Wait, that wouldn't make sense because he wouldn't be able to have both those if he is Conqueror primary. So maybe just the animation, not a Nimbus Cloak, excuse me. But here is the play back up on this top side. Solo scrapping it up here with Ruin. He knows that IgNar is in position, but they lost sight of the fact that Galio had moved up the river. And Galio comes in, they don't have enough damage to actually burst Ruin down. IgNar is an easy kill because he committed his flash for first blood down on that bottom side. And then in the extended play here, this is where FlyQuest really does start to get more out of it. Yes, solo moves forward and CLG want to punish that. They did get that eventual kill, but they lost their mid lane turret in the process. They traded the kill back over to Santorin in that process, who has been farming away very diligently, and IgNar with a little bit of an oopsie there.
Ooh, Tempered Fate hits onto Mash. Gonna land the two-shot barrage. The latch is very good there from Smoothie. And Wiggily, oh, he's not range for the dunk. Or he didn't have vision. But whatever it was, he wanted to ulti, I can tell you that much. And now Mash is gonna take out Smoothie. Oh, no.
Oh, not like this, CLG. Just when people start believing in them, it's counter logic gaming, baby.
Yeah, Rift Herald dropped in top lane as well. So Solo is able to take the tower down in top lane. Oh, it looked so good until it didn't.
You hate to see it happen, man. That is just one of those really terrible moments for team morale when you're making a play on bot side and you have the advantageous play, you have the man advantage. You die to the tower. On the top side, you're losing a tower. Now they're gonna get the dragon. It's just like, oh no, mental boom.
This is the insult after the injury, I suppose. It's gonna be Cloud Drake for FlyQuest, with no contest available for CLG. Still, game's fairly close. 3,000 gold ahead in there for FlyQuest, which is a significant lead, but certainly not without CLG having the ability to move back in.
Yeah, I mean, I think CLG does have a pretty strong composition, and there are some pretty squishy members over on the side of FlyQuest. A lot of it is just going to come down to can CLG actually nail those engages, because if you can get on top of champions like the Aphelios, like this Pantheon, lock them down with that J4 Galio combo, then Shock Blast comes in, Ezreal ulti comes in, and all of a sudden things are looking pretty good.
Yep, gonna slap down IgNar with some meeps here. Also additional damage done by Stixxay. Getting his tower is gonna be the other big thing. I think they'll get this bottom outer tower, especially with Wiggily down here now. But one of the things that happens is, outer towers are often assumed, an assumed thing that like, we'll get this, we'll get the gold, and we'll get some map control back. But when you don't take those towers, the game goes from like, oh, this feels kind of bad, but like, we're within distance, to like, I don't have any plays to do because I don't have room to make plays around the map. A Solo, speaking of, onto Ruin he goes. Facebreaker, Haymaker, ooh, nice little thundering blow there to get out of the way, but Ruin again. Been managing this matchup just fine. Actually pretty healthily ahead in CS right now as well.
Yeah, Ruin is up in farm, thanks in part to the multiple Galio ultimates that went up there and kind of the attention paid to him from his team. But I've got to say, Solo's been doing well. If you're playing, a melee matchup like the Sett into Jayce, then you're going to be feeling pretty happy as long as you're not kind of getting run over. He did keep his tower alive. He actually, took away the Jayce's tower, was trading well, and for the most part, staying very even in farm until he did actually get killed off. So I think Solo has done a commendable job up there, and should be pretty happy with his position, as Pobelter potentially could get dove here.
Yep, ganking the global. I like it a lot. Pobelter, IgNar's going to go in to start things off. He does get the taunt onto Santorin, but too much damage and can't get out of there. The Justice Punch will only delay the inevitable, as FlyQuest will take the kill, and more importantly, that third tower as well. There was the answer in bottom lane. It did finally come through for CLG, but starting to lose these trades as CLG will counter-attack here in mid. Solo, though, with the rest of his team charging in, will not be too worried about being able to defend this tower. Instead, Ruin's going to try and get the trade for the top lane outer.
IgNar gets to show off that Pantheon tower diving, starts it with that W, landing the stun, and then he just backs out to maximum turret range, waits until the last shot would actually kill him, uses his E to block out that turret shot damage, and it just becomes such an easy dive to pull off. Pobelter has no opportunity to actually trade back for a kill because the turret is just focusing that Pantheon the whole time, and now will be a stolen blue buff here for Wiggily. So nicely done there from CLG to take a little bit away from FlyQuest, but FlyQuest really feeling like they are fully in control. 3,500 gold ahead. They have grabbed the last 2 dragons of the game, and going to be looking to continue to build on that towards that potential Dragon Soul.
Yeah, 3,500 gold up now, in part thanks to Mash, who actually pushed through for the tier 2. Had enough bullets in the crescendum, apparently, to get that tower despite the wave dying, so knew there was no threats. Just a really smart decision to take a little bit of extra gold and control off the map, and now FlyQuest looking very good around this upcoming dragon in 1 minute and 40 seconds, but CLG starting to realize that, okay, we've got the 2 outer turrets in the side lanes, we can start working mid, we do want to fight for this upcoming dragon.
Yeah,
Again, it is about the execution, like you mentioned.
Exactly. They're trying to group early and land some poke here. Utilize the Ezreal Jayce to actually land poke and then go for the hard engage, and here they go.
Ooh, IgNar trying to get ruined, but Stixxay's going to chase him with Solo right behind him. It's time to dunk the Ezreal, Wiggily, and Pobelter though in the middle of the team fight, but can't fight off the Syndra and the Aphelios. IgNar low, but not dead just yet. Now Solo is going to find a 3-man face breaker on the other side and dump him over the wall into the slow. Ruin's still alive. But Bard dead, Pobelter down, FlyQuest just finding that team fight through the enemy walls.
That was so well done by FlyQuest. IgNar and Solo just zoned out both the damage dealers of CLG. So Stixxay and Ruin were never part of that hard engage. We saw Smoothie, Wiggily, Pobelter flying in on top of these damage dealers. But when you don't have the follow-up on that engage from your Ezreal and from the Jayce, you don't actually have enough damage in that first punch to take anyone down. So Syndra, Aphelios, and Graves, that were the 3-man squad over there in that 3v3, win the extended fight so incredibly easily. And I think that team fight really so much credit deserved by those frontliners, by IgNar, by Solo for sectioning off the damage dealers of CLG and really making that a very easy fight.
Set up nicely where IgNar and Solo was just ready to catch him on the other side of the wall when they blinked over to try and kill the Pantheon. Certainly be a fun one to maybe see again, but PowerOfEvil's letting it loose on Stixxay. See you later.
Ouch, she just got absolutely slammed. Was rushing early armor to deal with all his physical damage, but now on base, buys Nagus. He's like, please, Nathan, save me. Anyone?
Love me some good Syndra gameplay. Santorin is going to take the third Drake, put FlyQuest on sole point here as the game has started to open up in FlyQuest's favor and then some. About 5k ahead now. Can start thinking about the Baron. They'll have a huge threat in 5 minutes when that dragon respawns.
I mean, just look at the item completions coming through here. IgNar already has his lethality item. He has that Umbral Glaive to be able to help with vision control. You can see 2 completed items on jungle, 2 completed items on top. Deathcap done, for PowerOfEvil. He's on 2 items. IE done for Mash. He's on 2 items. So they have these really expensive item builds that they are already kind of completing. And FlyQuest is just in such a comfortable position at this point. CLG has not been able to get a really good coordinated engage, and that is what they're going to need. And honestly, if it goes on too long, you're not going to be able to even be at the point where you can win a fight if you find that engage. Some of the luxury items are going to start to come through. You can see Mash as a stopwatch as well as the cloth armor, likely going to be building towards a GA. You're going to be seeing more of those defensive items coming through from FlyQuest to just kind of eliminate the only possibilities CLG has of a teamfight victory.
Yep, certainly we'll be looking at Wiggily and Pobelter. I mean, this is the combination you drafted. Certainly is like your first step in finding a successful team fight. Certainly Smoothie can help set it up as well, but whatever it is, it needs to be coordinated by CLG. They put stock in their team fighting this game, and they'll have to deliver in 3 minutes and 42 seconds, if not sooner. But CLG are at least getting some room made here in mid lane. 4-man push here into mid is going to do some damage, but probably not enough to take it. IgNar going to threaten there with the Hex Flash. CLG want to stay for this tower, but the response has already come in. It's just a little too risky.
Yeah, I mean, they know they're in a position where they are pretty significantly behind, and that FlyQuest, if they find a flank with Solo, if they find that engage with IgNar to follow up on, that CLG is not only going to lose a team fight, at 24 minutes you're going to lose a team fight, you're going to lose the Baron, and then the game is probably over because you're already down 5,000 gold. So CLG knows they have got to be very, very careful, pick their moment, and really nail the engage on it, or this game is going to be quickly out of reach.
Yeah, Stoneplate done for Wiggily, so we'll perhaps live a bit longer to give Galio time to charge in, but FlyQuest, again, very methodical team in a lot of ways. Very consistent. Solo maybe in trouble. In they go. Ruin gets the slowdown with a Thundering Blow. Solo going to be forced to flash away. Charging a Haymaker up. They're trying to bait it out. Ruin with a very nicely played bit of patience, but True Shot Barrage is it isn't enough. Solo looks back into it, and Stixxay finds a snipe. Now it's a 5v4 around the Baron.
Yeah, now CLG can maybe force something. They actually played that very well, waiting out a lot of that Haymaker shield, so it was expended on Ruin. Then the Ezreal ultimate was still there. We'll see CLG. Do you have the confidence to actually start up this Baron? It is a 5v4. This could be a game-changing play if they're willing to go for it, but you can't just have Ruin tanking this. He's going to get too low, so they're going to engage.
Good 2 knock-up. Oh, Mash actually going to get Tempered Fate. Here comes Galio, charges in, finds knock-up onto 2. IgNar getting low. Ruin's going to take him down as Pobelter's already in there, and he goes golden! Shuts down there onto Santorin as CLG. We asked for a team fight, and they delivered. It's just the carries left alive now.
They're so low, though. Ruin here very, very low on HP. Pobelter very low on HP. Remember, there's not really a tank for CLG to actually go to the Baron. So they will be dissuaded from taking that Baron. They get a couple kills. Very nice for CLG. 3 kills, I do believe, in that extended trade. This is after that solo pickoff in mid lane. They know they can't just sit on the Baron and tank it up for too long. Any sort of poke that does land from PowerOfEvil could spell disaster, so they go in with the ultimate. The Bard ult lands on Mash to delay. Pobelter and Wiggily come over top, then Pobelter just flashing into the back line, landing a taunt on multiple members straight into that Zhonya's Hourglass, has the teamfight build ready to go with the Proto Belt plus that Zhonya's, so they pick up a couple kills. And then they've got to retreat. They know they don't have the health and the damage to really knock down that Baron quickly, but CLG showing off what this composition can do, and FlyQuest has got to be very, very careful about this, but they are going to be the ones who know when CLG will engage next, because this next dragon in 50 seconds, that is sole point for FlyQuest. So as long as they are set up in this area, as long as they have vision, it's really, really difficult to replicate those kind of team fights for CLG.
3 items now for both Stixxay and Ruin, though, so we'll feel a little bit more empowered in the upcoming fight. But CLG will certainly have to work pretty hard to retain any control of this area. They are pushing up mid right now, but they have no vision whatsoever in the river. In fact, FlyQuest will make sure that stays true as they clear out that ward very quickly. Trying to bait them in here, but FlyQuest kind of, I think they're looking for a pick.
It's just going to be this battle for mid lane pressure, right? They both want to get the wave going their way. That allows you access to the Dragon Pit to get vision. FlyQuest very clearly wants to fight over this. They're trying to defend these pink wards pretty heavily, but the engage coming in.
Hits Mash. Q, though, not really easy to land. True Shot Barrage gets a tickle, but not enough. PoE lets it rip on a Ruin. See ya! As Wiggily dives in, and I think ill-advised dive as a good latch there from Smoothie will protect the rest of his team, but they just lose Ruin instantly to PowerOfEvil.
The positioning was honestly so good for FlyQuest, despite the good Bard ultimate from Smoothie, catching Mash on the edge of that ult. His frontliners step forward, threaten the Bard, so Smoothie couldn't actually follow up with the Cosmic Binding onto Mash. There was no way he could actually get there. And then Ruin, who was trying to maintain control of that mid lane, just gets absolutely blown up by PowerOfEvil, who's at such a strong point in the game. You can see no MR whatsoever over on Ruin. The Death Cap, the Void Staff, the Ludens already complete, in addition to those Sorcerer's Boots. So PowerOfEvil is ridiculously strong, had rank 16, level 16 rather, for that rank 3 ultimate, and Syndra is pretty much going to blow up any of the squishies on this team.
Yep, and Ruin certainly qualifies as a squishy. I mean, Pobelter potentially in certain situations will also qualify if the Zhonya's
if he doesn't have
his shields down. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, if you have your Zhonya's, then you can use that on the ultimate. But if you don't, he could definitely get 100-0'd by the Syndra. There's only really Wiggily who is safe, because he has a significant amount of MR. Even Smoothie potentially could get comboed down. Yes, he has some health from the Deadmans, but health isn't going to be enough to keep you safe when PowerOfEvil is this fed and this high level. I mean,
very
he's
relative.
Six levels above the sport.
Yeah, very relative term. At this instant, PoE is certainly very powerful. They did lose the Soul Dragon, by the way. That one was pretty inevitable. They do check the Baron. They see the control ward, but likely suspect that someone from FlyQuest is hiding in a brush. We see Mash and PoE there. The bait. Tempered Fate not going to connect, and CLG don't really have anything else to go in, but here's Wiggily looking for the flank on the Mash. Stoneplate not popped yet. He's almost dead, actually. The Galio ult is going to charge in, but Mash doesn't mute it. The chase is on, though. The taunt is going to be lined up for PoB. He waited for the flash solo in, though, to try and defend the teammates, and the Haymaker is massive, but Pobelter has lived for so long as solo finally gets killed by Stixxay, who's forced to blink in, but he's going to fall as well. IgNar with a great stun there as Ruin does get the trade, but it's 3v2 now in favor of FlyQuest.
Very close fight, actually. CLG does go down one member, but you would think FlyQuest would have won that even more handily. Mash did a good job actually absorbing a lot of that engage, and it was able to kind of kite back and survive from Pobelter and Wiggily. CLG couldn't get their damage dealers again back to Mash, and he did a good job of timing the stopwatch on that Galio ult and really just kind of surviving there. So despite the fact that it is a relatively close fight in terms of numbers, Mash can burn through this incredibly quickly with that Graves. They're going to be able to two-man the Baron. PowerOfEvil is zoning just in case Wiggily was coming over to check, but not even sure that there's anything CLG can do about it, even if they knew.
Yep, Krishan's the real deal when it comes to taking down static objectives, and Mash and Santorin able to very cleanly two-man that Baron with a bit of assistance from the defense of PoE. So all the objectives have been sliding in favor of FlyQuest as we watch this one again. It was close.
Yeah, it was close, and honestly, Mash with the additional move speed from that Cloud Soul did a good job, but over the wall, Wiggily comes in, Mash sidestepped the flag and drag there, but then the dunk goes over top. You can see the stopwatch from Mash here, immuning that Galio ultimate, then the Jarvan ult also expired, so Smoothie didn't actually have the ability to Q him, to actually land that Cosmic Binding on anything. But at the same time, Stixxay and Ruin have been fighting this out very well. Stixxay flashing forward to finish off Solo to try to trade back a kill, but is engaged on. IgNar came back into that fight. He was really low on health, but he ulted in, he used the Bard portal, and was able to find that stun on Stixxay that allowed him to finish him off.
I mean, we talked about how strong PoE is. I thought Wiggily didn't use Stoneplate that last team fight because of how quickly his health went down. He used it. It just still went down that quickly to the Syndra ulti.
The Aphelios things. Or Syndra, yeah.
So
and now it just gets harder, right? Stopwatch is now completed for PowerOfEvil, so that is going to make him harder to burst down. The Death Dance is done for Mash. He'll likely go towards a PD next also.
All right,
but
this is the only layup CLG you're going to get. It is going to be Santorin. That's a big kill to get. And they will finish it off their Ruin with the last hit. But by their forces combined, they do get one, but Baron's not up. In fact, they still have the buff. CLG chasing the rest of FlyQuest to try and get them off their towers.
Still CLG finding ways to fight back, looking for picks, trying to find those engages where they can get them. Did seem a little bit silly that Santorin was so separated from the rest of his team. They had this 3-man squad pushing up on top side. Didn't really have eyes on most of CLG, and he does get engaged on and picked off. His flash is also going to be down. Mash is down summoners too from the previous fight, so it does give CLG some hope that if you can find that proper engage with flashes available on Wiggily, on Pobelter, on Smoothie, that maybe you can burst down one of those carries and have something happening in the fight. And they're actually TPing Pobelter from behind there. Look!
What a bait! IgNar just looking juicy, and PoE just gets the kill. Match is low though, so now it's going to be a trade with the Galio ulti. Rides in, good immune there from PoE, but IgNar not going to be so lucky. Solo is here! Damage is massive, but IgNar still fighting it out. Stixxay, they're able to get 2, make it the 3rd over to Ruin as they find 4 as well. PoE, the only one left alive, and CLG starting to come online.
Yeah, really well done. Honestly, I mean, CLG playing that out well, but also FlyQuest, I think, are just not respecting CLG. Your jungler is dead, who just got picked off, honestly, pretty randomly around mid lane. Then, instead of actually waiting for Santorin to be alive to take vision around this Elder Dragon that's going to be spawning, they just kind of wandered in there against this hard engage comp, down members, and they get punished, rightfully so. I do think that CLG is doing a really good job just not backing down, and it feels like FlyQuest is expecting CLG to maybe roll over or just forgetting about their ability to still engage, but they have given away some sloppy deaths, and there are still chances for FlyQuest to lose this game. If CLG are able to get Elder, well, during that time frame where you have the Elder buff, it is more powerful than the Cloud Soul, so they have got to respect what CLG can do and play this out intelligently.
Yeah, Pobelter going to finish off this crab. Oh, just misses the Justice Punch, but no harm, no foul. Elder Dragon is up and available though, and FlyQuest are almost all grouped back together. We know that there's a carry by the Raptor Pit, but CLG don't know that just yet. Expecting a 5v5, and it will certainly be at this point as both teams look to retake control of mid.
Okay, so we'll be just pushing out mid here. Both teams have kind of cleared that out. CLG, though, on the side here. Could look for a Cosmic Binding from Smoothie. If you can find it on the proper targets, that can be used to start it off. But Ruin and Pobelter are segregated. They're split up.
Good double taunt from POB, but who's really getting engaged on? Forced to stasis fairly early. Solo going to dunk him back in towards the team, but Wiggily trying to dive PoE. Mashlow takes down Pobelter. Wiggily dives in, traps a bunch there in the Jarvan ulti, but PoE is able to take down Stixxay, and I don't know if they've got the damage to finish off the rest of the fight. It's Wiggily and Smoothie running away. Wiggily gets himself over to the pit, but it's a double kill for PowerOfEvil, as Ruin also falls to Solo. Wiggily the only one left alive. I mean, Wiggly's going to try Ezreal, but...
Yeah, I don't think he's got much left in the tank. The respawn timers are too long. I think FlyQuest has one CLG, it looked like. With the anti-synergy, they're split up. Pobelter and Ruin were off by themselves. Stixxay was way down into the river, too far away to actually contribute to the fight. And then as Wiggily is engaging on PowerOfEvil, it looked like he would have actually potentially hit the flag and drag. He gets ulted by Bard.
And now it's no hope at all. There's the ace. Finally, the Bud Light ace of Santorin will put the cap on the last kill needed. FlyQuest didn't even need it as they'll smash down the Nexus. And a back and forth battle, but FlyQuest, it felt like they got ahead and stayed ahead as they'll take down CLG.
Yeah, pretty stable game overall, I would say, from CLG and FlyQuest. But FlyQuest obviously, they had the objective control. You know, they were the better team overall. I do think that PowerOfEvil turned in a really nice game, but there was some sloppiness too, honestly, to be honest, from both teams. It felt like FlyQuest wasn't respecting the engage from CLG, you know, gave over some kills that allowed CLG to have more purchase in this game, to have an ability to actually potentially come back. But CLG also just wasn't on the same page with a lot of these engages. We saw how they looked, you know, even in that final team fight where, you know, Bard is ulting the person that is getting engaged on as the flag and drag is going through. You know, Pobelter is starting the fight off with the Ezreal nowhere near him, and then no ability to actually use his Galio ultimate. And there was honestly a lot of mistakes on both sides, so gonna have to see these teams kind of cleaning it up if they want to be competing against the very, very top teams. Because right now, you know, there's kind of this clump of teams that are battling it out for second and below, and we have yet to see someone really rise up and show that they can challenge Cloud9, and that is who everyone is chasing in North America these days. So these teams have got to try to improve, try to show as clean of a game as they can.
I do like, though, that FlyQuest showed us something a little bit different. Like, Santorin is good at Graves, but FlyQuest aren't necessarily, you know, the team that wants to rally around the jungler. I think, to be fair, he didn't need to do that much in that game. Yeah. But IgNar playing the Pantheon, again, like, FlyQuest against basically every team that isn't Cloud9 have been very solid, stable, consistent, and then they just pick better team fighting and beat you because they're better. This kind of comp isn't a massive departure from that, but I appreciate that they're trying to show us that, hey, we are that aggressive team we started seeing more of. We can do different things, and we can beat teams in, you know, ways that aren't just one note.
Yeah, I think the Pantheon was a cool pick. I think that it was, you know, kind of an interesting wrinkle in the draft and pretty surprising. I don't think that it looked so dominant or scary that anyone's gonna be like, oh, gotta you know, watch out in the draft for the Pantheon support, gotta ban that out. So I don't think they got the same kind of level of presence that they were perhaps expecting to get from this, or perhaps hoping. Sometimes, you know, if you feel like this is a game that you should win, you can bring out a pick like this, try to dominate with it, and then try to make teams going forward be really nervous about that pick, to try to respect it, throw bans that way. And I don't think they will have accomplished that, but at the very least, we see that IgNar again is a very flexible player, and this is a guy who, you know, when he first came into the league, was playing non-stop different champions. I want to say something like in his first 8 or 10 games in the LCS, he played a different champion every single game. So we know he has the ability to flex these, and the Pantheon, I think, was okay, but not great.
Not as good as PowerOfEvil, who kind of took over the game as necessary in the end. I think for CLG, though, as soon as I saw Jarvan, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I get it. You're the team fighting team, right? Like, nobody takes Jarvan over Graves.
It's a team fight comp.
If your plan isn't to try and team fight, and I'm almost surprised that they got Galio, because I think that was the obvious pick they wanted, especially with Twisted Fate banned. But CLG, just missing on the execution more than anything else. I think showing that they can compete, but it needs to be a lot more consistent and a lot more crisp if they're going to take down teams, especially the top teams, as FlyQuest is certainly trending up towards. To hear more about that victory, though, Riff is standing for the Verizon post-game interview with the victorious mid laner.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I am joined by PowerOfEvil after they take down Counterlogic Gaming. Just to start off, man, how have you been? It's good to see you.
I've been good. LCS going good. Scrims are going fine, I would say. So overall, I'm feeling really good about today.
Awesome. Perfect. So coming into this, let's just start picks and bans, because there's a few things. Were you surprised, I should say, about getting both Aphelios and Syndra in your picks?
Yeah, we were definitely surprised by it. We thought we're gonna end up trading Aphelios against Syndra. We ended up getting both, and we got not only these two power picks, but we got the Graves too. So we pretty much got, like, I would say, like a godlike 1, 2, 3 like champion draft, and then we just rounded up in the 4-5, and we were pretty confident going into the game.
Absolutely. So you get the picks you want. Did you get the expected gameplay from Counterlogic Gaming? They've been coming in a lot with these kind of just full engage comps. Did you guys come in with that homework done and get the gameplay you expected from them?
I think we played really good towards the early and the mid game. I think we snowballed really well. We got most of the dragons, the heralds. We counteracted most of the engages. I think towards the end it got a little bit sloppy, a little bit scary as well. Because
talk to me about this 26-minute fight where Solo gets hit by a true shot barrage and things go haywire.
Well,
were the
yeah, we
comms
just
like?
started. Well, we started like kind of getting picked off randomly. I'm not sure if that. I think we were just not on the same page. I don't know if that was like respecting the enemy gauge, or like just a little bit being unfocused. But they had a lot of tools. You need to say like they had Jarvan gauge, Bard engage. Like they had so many tools, so you needed to respect it a lot, and we didn't really do that. And towards the end, it got a little bit scary since we got so many dragons that early that even with our goal lead, if they end up getting the Elder Dragon, there might be no comeback from that. So that was a scary end fight, but we team fight pretty well. We kind of outplayed them, I felt like, in the fight just like that, and then we won.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, the team's playing well, so if you can share this next answer with me. Any areas of improvement that you guys are kind of focused on working on right now that we'll be seeing soon, the fans might see soon, that you can share with us?
Well, I think we need to clutch up like the mid to late game a little bit more, just making less mistakes, getting less caught. As well, I would say like being a little bit faster at snowballing. I think we got like a slight lead, but we could have snowballed it faster. So I would say overall, there's still areas to improve on, but I'm happy how we're doing right now, and we just need to like keep getting better at this point.
All right, and I got a final question before I let you go. What emotes are you flying? What's your favorite? We saw a lot of them this game, but what's your favorite one to put up when you're messing with your opponents?
Well, I'm a big fan of the bee emojis and the penguins and the penguins. I like them the most.
Awesome. Great answers. Usable everywhere, honestly. PowerOfEvil, thank you so much. Congratulations on the victory. FlyQuest doing awesome once again in the summer split. We're now going to throw to the State Farm analyst desk to break down the rest of that game.
Last couple of years, it's been a lot about C9 against Team Liquid. This split, it's looking like it's going to be that again.
We always lost in the finals against them. Even like last Summer Split, we lost against them in Game 5, which felt really bad. Last split, we knew that the only team that could beat us if they were back on 4 was TL. So kicking them out of the playoffs for me was really satisfying. I remember everyone jumping out of their chair, being really happy because it was really a banger of a game.
Can you believe in miracles now? Cloud9 will shut down Team Liquid's playoff chances.
This time around, we're kind of looking to like reestablish ourselves and, you know, kind of just reclaim what is ours.
3-man knockup. You only need one, and Jensen hits it.
Summer, there was a lot of rivalry between me and Niski, like who's the better mid.
I replaced him 1 year ago. Most of the people are happy that I'm here now, and Jensen's gone, so I'm happy with that.
And I'm not really like particularly worried about Niski myself.
No, my team is better than his. Doesn't really matter what he does. I think we'll beat them, and yeah, he cannot do anything about it.
Over Blabber goes first blood for the Cloud9 jungler. 2v3 time perhaps?
This man is smurfing LCS at this point.
Honestly, like, I don't think C9 is as good as they think they are. They dominated last split, but I know this time around we're a lot better, and we're feeling super confident, and, you know, I know that I'm better than Niski, and, you know, this is the time to show it.
I am so thankful that Jensen is willing to give us a lot of good sound bites of smack talk right before he goes up against C9, where inevitably they'll get crushed. So I appreciate him giving us the hype piece, knowing that people will be taking those clips and posting them online in a little bit.
And I know, Mark, you always say Jizuke is the dreamer, but I think it's Jensen is now the new dreamer. Like,
Yeah.
to say that you're better than Niski right now, it's like, yeah, show me. Like, show me you're better, because I see so many Niski plays, and I don't see enough Jensens.
I mean, it reminds me like how many times in the past when he joined TL, he was on C9, he goes to TL, he goes, oh yeah, I was sick of playing against people with the better team, so I joined Team Liquid. And then it's 1 year later, and it's like, C9's got the better team. You know, what can I do? What can I do?
I'm proud of Jensen. I'm so happy he's speaking up, because I feel like every team is viewing against Cloud9, it's like a David versus Goliath story. Yeah. And it's just, it seems so impossible to take them down, but I'm really happy that Jensen's got this confidence. I truly want them to do well. Please, TL.
Yeah, I feel like the trash talking, we got plenty of evaluation out of that, but looking at the particular matchup, even the way we talk about Jensen versus Niski has changed so much from the preseason at the top in January all the way through what we're seeing here today.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically polar opposites in terms of playstyle. Niski's all over the map, high kill participation, large forward percentage, always taking risks, looking for ways to get advantages for his team, and a lower damage percentage because he gives up a lot of resources for Blabber, you know, both in terms of gold and the champions that he's playing. You know, Jensen is the mid lane control mage who wants to take over the game, to like through and through. That's who he is.
And you mentioned a lot of the stylistic differences depending on the relationship between these mid laners and their junglers. So therefore, obviously, we can't go forward without talking about the jungler matchup here, because you've got Broxa on one side, but he's aiming to contend with your Honda MVP in Blabber, who has been a front runner for Cloud9, right, Prolly?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we can't stop talking about all the positive things about Blabber, especially like now him having like the only sub 6 minute level 6 on Olaf. I mean, this guy's been just a complete terror in the jungle, and like so far we haven't seen anyone like coming close to the way like Blabber performs in the early and mid game. And I don't know, especially in the jungle meta, this is such an important time to have such a strong jungler, and I don't know. I'm curious where we'll end up by the end of summer.
It's funny to see this, because Blabber was doing the same thing in Academy when he was in that league. And so a lot of us were thinking, okay, when he moves up to LCS, he'll have a lot more competition. He won't just be able to roll over all these LCS guys. And he gets here, and what have we seen? It's the exact same thing. He makes the LCS players look like Academy players, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you heard Ezreal before say, like, he's smurfing the LCS. His win rate really is. Like, this has to be the greatest start to a player's career in North America in terms of just win rate, dominance over his position. We'll see how long he can hold on to it, but it's unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, I mean, before today, I was looking back at some of his stats from Scouting Grounds, back at Blabberfish 2, and just what he's been able to do with the more stage time he gets is incredible. But you have on the opposite side, Broxah, plenty of stage experience, plenty to show off from his past, but maybe a little iffy on how he's been performing so far within the Summer Split.
Definitely the case. You know, when you look at the plays that he's making, it's so night and day from where he was in Europe, where he was this, you know, all-in, you know, crazy Lee Sin player, a lot of different ganks and early action. And here in North America, he's still doing some of those, but he's doing them on a lot riskier champions, you know, like a Trundle, who can really, really fall behind against a lot of the power farmers that he's gone into, and that has really hurt his stats in a lot of ways, where he hasn't been able to take over the games.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been a reaction to in Spring Split, him coming in halfway through the split through the visa issues and then having so many underwhelming performances where he's just not interacting with lanes enough. So then now it's kind of on the opposite side where it's an overcorrection to I need to always influence the map. And yeah, you hear Broxah shares too much. There's too many times he's in a poor jungle matchup and he goes for these ganks that are not 100% and he ends up either not getting enough flash or not getting enough summoners, not getting enough advantage, and then the enemy jungler can just take advantage of him completely and put him really far behind.
I'm a little worried for the Broxah Trundle pick too. While I do think he is a good Trundle, I feel like Blabber will always have a Kindred or a Nidalee or the Olaf in his back pocket, and God forbid that Broxah goes to those lanes and does what you said he does, where sometimes it's a fail gank. He'll just walk over there, put the Trundle pillar down, do nothing, and then run back to the jungle. Meanwhile, what Blabber's doing is getting his pre-6-minute Olaf level 6, and is going to be up 2 levels on you by the time team fights come around.
So to contend... Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was going to say, he also grabs a lot of objectives. You know, it's something that we don't talk enough Blabber about, but he gets a lot of early Drakes as well with his individual power.
Yeah, and that's the thing, to contend with kind of the aggression that comes out of Blabber, and you're looking over at Broxah, and some are saying he needs to be more self-focused instead of focusing on the lanes, but also the picks themselves. So, Alorum, if you're kind of balancing the fact that most of his aggressive plays have come on things like Lee Sin's in the past, what would you advise for him in trying to maybe work on the role, continuing with his mid laner and laners in this case?
Please, the draft needs to be good. I think you have to draft around Blabber. Make sure that Broxah does not get hard counterpicked, because I think that will be the death of Team Liquid.
Well, I just looked over at the screen.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to react to that. That was just a subtle, you know, the Lumberjack Jet has to come out with his wacky drafts.
Yeah, I mean, you can't throw stuff at me like that without expecting me to react. I need some time to react to this a bit more, so we are going to throw to a short commercial break. And when we return, Team Liquid are going to attempt to take down Cloud9 for the first time of the Summer Split.
To Assist of the Day, presented by State Farm. Team Liquid was firmly in the lead during their first encounter with 100 Thieves. Fearless, they scouted the bottom jungle looking for that single blitz hook. It only took a few seconds of scouting before Core JJ landed the rocket grab on Stunned. During what looked like a miraculous escape, Tactical lined up a true shot barrage that put Stunned on a silver platter for Jensen.